This bike here behind me is actually quite an interesting concept. If you look at those three little letters SMT, they stand for Supermoto Touring. Now that's an interesting concept, because if you think of a Supermotard bike, you think of a bike that's about a race, about a hooligan bike. You backing the bike into a corner, the back wheel's always sliding, drifting, you're drifting through a bend, you're spinning it up, lighting it up. So a bit of a hooligan bike. Now if you think of touring, you think of more sedate, longer hours in the saddle. So quite an interesting combination. Also, if you look at the bike like this, you could say it's a bit of a stripped down adventure bike, or else you could say it's a beefed up Supermotard. So for me, I wanted to ride this bike and actually see the fun factor, the smile factor of a bike like this. Also in what sort of category I would place this kind of a bike. I think KTM puts it in the sport touring category. Super interesting concept. We're talking about the 2023 KTM SMT. So I'm going to take it for a ride, see what it's all about, see the everyday versatility and the fun factor of this bike, and then also review the specs with you. The bike is still key operated, it's not keyless, and as you turn the key you will see this 5-inch TFT light up. Full color, stunning looks. You might at first glance think it's a bit cluttered, but it's really not. What you see is here's your speed, your gear and your RPM. So the three things that you always need to know and you want to quickly look at, the biggest and easy visible. You can see time, temperature, traction, slip, the consumption odo. So the little things you want to know when you're touring, they're down at the bottom, and you get to know where to look quickly. Your settings for ABS and throttle response also nice and big. So once you know the layout, you know exactly where to go and look. The clock is not too far recessed down that you have to lean forward. From up here you can see it nicely. The controls, simple enough. Got your hazards, your on off, simple. Here you've got your cruise control on top, your indicators, your horn, and your setting for your modes and back over here. Simple. It looks good. I like it all out in blacked out. Looks fantastic with this KTM, and you can see you can set your handlebars over here. But let's get going from here. The seating position on this bike is super comfortable. Definitely the adventure style seating. The cushion is way softer than a super bike, and it's plush, it's comfortable, it's wide enough. You can sit a couple of hours on the seat. Feet, my height, the seat height is fairly high, yet I get both feet flat on the ground, knees slightly bent at my 6-foot frame. So tall, but not as tall as an adventure bike. Still fully in control of this bike. Squirting the gas, quick shifting. If you think you're getting onto a medium-sized bike, this thing has plenty stonk. I mean, that 100 Newton meter, that torque is wonderful. It pushes you forward, it propels you. I am in track mode at the moment. Yes, you have 3 standard rider modes, and you have, with the tech pack, you have the track mode, which really gives you a couple of additional features like wheeling and sliding the back and keeping the ABS in on front by locking the back. Supermoto mode. When it comes to technology thrown at this motorcycle, it's not over the top. It's not hectic that you need a PhD, but it's enough to really have a whale of a time. And it is simple to use, really simple to use. You just push your set button and then go through. It has animation together with the text. We'll go through that. All round, this is a fun bike. It is everything you'd expect from an adventure bike when it comes to comfort, riding for a long time, no fatigue, no strain, no stress on lower back, arms, forearms, wrist. So everything you'd want. It rides these speed bumps like an absolute charm, yet you have the sportiness of it, that kick, that track functionality, that you could be an enemy to knee sliders and take it on the track. You're not too tall. The suspension sits right in the middle. It absorbs the bumps like an adventurer, but enough firmness to give you confidence for the track. I think maybe a mistake to go straight onto track mode, because it is extremely nippy, this thing. Twist the throttle and off she goes. When you talk about comfort and ergonomics of this bike, I definitely, first impressions, have to say it feels like an adventure bike. The only thing that's missing is the tall screen for touring. Other than that, the seat is nice and wide. It's plush, it's comfortable, not too wallowy and saggy like a couch. You'll still get enough feedback through that seat, and not too wide that you straddle, that you can't touch the ground with your legs. The foot pegs are high enough to give you fantastic ground clearance, so you can have good cornering ability, also locking the back wheel like Supermotard and throwing it into a bend. However, low enough that you have ample space. If you have a look here, have a look how my thighs slope down, plenty space for the knees, and it feels comfortable. You're not gonna block any arteries. I was indecisive on the quick shifter or clutch, because either way it's super comfortable. But back to the foot pegs are at a really ergonomically good level. It's sporty enough to have great ground clearance, but low enough not to clamp any arteries off to stop your blood flow. So in this position, I'm sitting upright, hands on the handlebars, no difference to my upper body. Even in this position, my elbows are still bent. I'm comfortable. I can put elbows out, motocross style. I can lean forward. Lots of space. I can move forward and back. That bench type seat, front to back. A little bit of a step for the pillion, step up. Just feels great. Nimble, this bike, complemented really well with the power delivery, high torque, 105 horsepower but 100 Newton meter at under 7,000 RPM. Plenty stonk on this motor. So when you're riding it, the performance tells you it's not an adventure bike. When you're sitting on it, the ergonomics, the comfort tells you it's an adventure bike, a tourer. But I think that's why KTM calls this a sport tourer. It is super comfortable, and on a weekend, if you want to take it to a track day or thrash it around or scrape those knee sliders, this bike will do both for you. It's a all-round quite an interesting package. Again, as I've mentioned before, most of us can't afford 2 or 3 bikes in our garage. You know, you have either a commuter, or you have a track bike, or you have a long distance tourer if you want to take the missus with on a long weekend and go somewhere. Very few bikes have the versatility to be like a 3-in-1 or 4-in-1, but this bike definitely adventure riding. sport riding. Have a look at this. Absolutely insane power. 200, not a problem on this bike, kilometers per hour. The TFT, it's clear. It takes you a little bit of time just to get used to all the little information at the bottom because it is quite small, but the RPMs, the gears, the speed, all the major information you need to know at one glance, easily readable and visible. So no complaints. It sits high up, it's not tucked away at the bottom. Reflection is absolutely minimal. Wind deflection, if you want to do touring, I'm sure you just put an accessory aftermarket higher screen on, but in this guise, for commuting, plenty. You can hear that at speeds there's a little bit of noise in the helmet, so wear a quiet helmet. But the bike just feels very nimble, hides its weight in motion. It really, it's nimble, it's light. It feels much smaller in capacity from a nimbleness, lightness. However, when you twist the throttle, you know it's not a baby bike, it's a proper machine. I must say I'm enjoying it. Rear view mirrors nice and high, over the shoulders, over the elbows, wide out. I don't have to lean and look, lean in or lean out. Great. It's a really sporty bike. Yeah, at any gear, 6th gear, I'm just rolling it on, and the stoppers, nothing wrong with these. Downshift working proper. You can hang off this bike, roll it on, give it some. So if you're a sporty type of rider and you like the sporty feel and you want to slide the back or downshift and have a slipper clutch, or you want to accelerate with a bit of a drift on the back wheel out of corners, this bike is your bike. If you're a conservative type of rider, upright, point and squirt, this bike can do it safely for you and comfortably for you. Enough power on tap, braking is really good. If you're commuting, you put it in road mode, then the throttle is not as aggressive, and you've got all the traction, lean angle traction, your ABS, it's there for you. It does everything for you. It is a bike, I would say, that can cater for many applications. If you want to go to the track with the boys and play a little bit, you're not going to set the fastest lap times on this, but you're going to have the most fun, because you're ultimately going to be drifting, sliding, and really honing your skills. How do I describe this motorcycle? I would say it's not as wild and crazy as a Supermoto, so it's a sensible Supermotard. But a tourer, a sport tourer, no, I think it's bordering on the crazy tourer. So a sensible Supermotard / crazy sport tourer. It sits in between an adventure bike and a Supermotard and a tourer, so you don't really know where to place this. It sits in the KTM range between the KTM Adventure 890 and the KTM Duke 890. It has the same motor, which is a stunning motor, and more about that just now. And the adventure bikers, most of us mere mortals out there, we only do 5 or 10% of off-road riding. Yes, you have the hardcore adventure riders, but I would say most of adventure riders out there hardly ever leave the asphalt. So this bike actually does make a lot of sense. Now, this KTM 890 SMT is actually the 2nd generation SMT. The first one was the legendary KTM 990 SMT. Now, the adjectives to describe a bike like this, I mean, sharper, sleeker, sportier. It's a combination of tourer, racer, city bike, commuter. A long distance Supermoto. Sounds crazy, but it has a lot of sportiness and characteristic. It has the endurance ability that you can sit on it and not get fatigued. It's comfortable, and it's, I would say, suitable for many occasions. Now for me, just to get back to this stunning motor, this is a multi-purpose motor, the 890 KTM, to be exact 889cc, and it is a second generation of the LC8C motor. It is found in multiple KTMs such as the Duke, the Adventure, and now the SMT. But not only that, this 890cc has found itself into the Husqvarna, into the CF Moto, and to the guise. Now that should tell you that this motor has been proven and it is an all-round proper package. Now this stunning 889cc motor in this SMT is in a slightly detuned form. Now if you think of the KTM 890 Duke R, it's 119 horsepower, 119 horsepower. In this SMT, the same motor is detuned to 104 horsepower. However, your torque is up to 100 Newton meters at below 7,000 RPMs. Also, if you look at the suspension on this SMT, it sits exactly between the 890 Adventure and 890 Duke. If we go to the front suspension, the Adventure has 200mm travel. The Duke has 140mm travel. This SMT 180mm sits exactly in the middle. When you talk about the rear suspension, the 890 Adventure has 200mm travel. The 890 Duke has 150mm travel at the rear. This one, SMT 180. So 180 front and rear. It is definitely lighter than the KTM 890 Adventure, and so it makes this really a no compromises machine, a crossover of fun, usability, versatility. But let's talk about the specs in more detail, starting with this motor. As I mentioned, the KTM 890 motor, exact cc is 889cc. It's a 4-stroke parallel twin cylinder, double overhead cam, 4 valves per cylinder, liquid cooled. If you have a look at the massive radiator up front, the 2 header pipes coming 2 into 1 at the back. Maximum power, as mentioned, 104 horsepower, which is 77 kilowatts at 8,000 RPM. As you can see, you don't have to rev it past 10,000 like most inline fours. Torque is a stunning 100 Newton meters at as low as 6,500 RPM. Also, rideability, usability, and just stunning Supermotard style. Clutch is a mechanical anti-hopping clutch, goes through a 6-speed gearbox, final drive being chain. The frame is a chrome moly / steel, using the engine as a stressed member, everything being powder coated. Talking about the suspension, you can see KTM's WP Apex suspension up front, 43mm upside down, travel 180, a dual rear swing arm with monoshock, WP Apex again, 180mm travel at the rear. Talking about the brakes, you have stunning discs up front, dual discs, 260mm with 4-piston radially mounted calipers. At the rear, an oversized disc, 260mm single disc with single piston floating caliper. ABS front and rear, obviously. Wheels being cast aluminium front and back, 17-inch, both shod with a 120 and a 180 at the rear. Seat height lower than your traditional adventure bike, but still fairly tall bike at 860 millimeters. The dry weight of this bike is 194 kilograms. Lot lighter than your average adventure bike. So lower, slightly lighter, really makes it more comfort for day-to-day use and commuting. Ground clearance is 227 mils. Fuel capacity is 15.8 liters, and together with these Euro 5 motors, the economy, you'll get over the 250 kilometers range, depending on your riding style, obviously, if you're sporty or more touring. And your top speed will be 210 to 220 kilometers per hour. Now to talk about the tech side of things. This bike is a stunning mix because it's not too technical, so much technology thrown at it that it's intimidating or you need a PhD to deal with it. However, enough tech to make it fun and keep you safe. For example, rider modes, you don't have the traditional 6 or 7, you have a standard 3, street, rain and sport. Now with the tech pack, you have the option of the track. Now depending on your proficiency of a rider, it's really a whole lot of fun in the track option, because you can obviously disconnect the ABS at the back, lock it, and still have ABS in front. You can back this bike in and drift it into the corners. You can wheelie. There's a whole lot you can do. But standard 3 modes, rider mode, street, range, sport. Yes, cornering, traction control is standard, cornering ABS is standard, a stunning 5-inch TFT dash is standard, full LED lighting all round, phone connectivity including navigation. Now with the optional tech pack, you get stuff like quick shift up and down, motor slip regulator, MSR, cruise control, and the track pack. Now if I were to give you recommendations, this motor is so stunning and sweet, it deserves a quick shifter. So a quick shifter doesn't matter on your riding skill, quick shifter is a must. Quick shifter up and down, heaps of fun. The other thing, if you intend touring with this bike, your cruise control here, stunning and will give you pleasure and definitely worth it. Other than that, your track pack, if you want to use it as a track weapon, definitely heaps of fun and all of that, but the two musts depending on touring is a cruise control, and a definite must in all conditions is a quick shifter from my opinion. All round, having a look at this bike, it is brilliant. It's something unusual but definitely has a place in the market. Where I would put it, I would say it's one of those 3-in-1 or 4-in-1 bikes. You cannot call it a tourer, you cannot call it a sport tourer, because if you're absolute hooligan, you're going to ride this thing like a Supermotard. So I don't know, you can put it into many categories. Stunning little motorcycle. I'm going to get onto it again and do some more riding, so stay with me. This is definitely a bike where you can do things that I've actually done off camera, because I shouldn't be promoting this hooliganism, one wheel contact or braking too late or doing a bit of wild things. It's not something I should promote. Street racing is not something you should promote. However, a bike like this makes you regress in age. A bike like this makes you feel a lot younger than you truly are. It's a fantastic piece of equipment that can help you with your midlife crisis, if I can put it like that. It's a bike that'll make you feel 16 and 18 again. You do stuff on a bike like this that I cannot put on a video. It's just wonderful all around. This motor, it punches out of the corner, it pushes you back. The torque is of such a nature that you can short shift, quick shift and go through the box very quick, or keep the throttle pinned and change a bit later. Fantastic motorcycle all round. My conclusion, a bike like this is just, initially thinking about it makes no sense. A crazy aggressive supermoto mixed with a docile, sensible tourer. A bike that you're supposed to supermoto doing sprint races versus sitting longer times in a saddle for touring. However, once you get on the bike, it is brilliant. It makes perfect sense. It's a bike for every occasion, a bike for every mood. Should you want to just commute, even commute in the rain, this is a bike that you can do it comfortably and not be stressed out. If you're in the mood of letting out a bit of aggression, frustration on a track day and be a little bit wild, hooligan, this bike more than competent and will give you a crazy smile on your face. Fantastic concept, love it, and it makes perfect sense when you get on and ride it. It's a brilliant mix. KTM, thumbs up. Wonderful motorcycle. Thanks to KTM Centurion for giving me the opportunity of riding and playing with this toy. Fantastic day out. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode with me. If you did, please remember, hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, and most important of all, guys, please hit that subscribe button to help me build the channel. And if you like, the reminder bell so you always know when I'm uploading new content.